The cabin had been in my family longer than the HOA had existed as an idea. My grandfather bought the land back when the area was nothing but forest, a narrow river, and a single steel bridge built by a logging company in the Eknai Shat Shunnos. Over the years, developers arrived, trees vanished, and an upscale HOA community grew on the far side of the river. My cabin stayed right where it was, quiet, legal, and fully documented. At least, that's what I thought. One Friday evening, I drove up with groceries and firewood, already picturing the crackle of the fireplace. Instead, I found my gate sealed shut with a bright orange notice zip-tied to the chain. HOA violation, access revoked. I stepped out of my truck, reread it twice, and laughed in disbelief. According to the notice, my cabin gate violated HOA aesthetic guidelines. Apparently, the wood stain wasn't key community approved, and my gravel driveway was considered key unauthorized infrastructure. They had sealed the gate until I complied and paid accumulated fines. The problem was simple, I wasn't part of their HOA. I called the number listed. A woman answered with the tone of someone who enjoyed authority a little too much. "This is HOA compliance," she said. "You've been notified." "I don't belong to your HOA," I replied. "You can't seal my property." There was a pause. Then she said, "Your cabin is accessed through HOA land. That makes you subject to our rules." I looked past the gate toward the dirt road. The road crossed one thing before it ever touched HOA pavement, the bridge. I hung up without arguing. The next morning, 2 HOA board members showed up in SUVs, clipboards in hand. They walked around my truck like they were inspecting a violation exhibit. "You'll need to repaint the gate," one said. "And submit a retroactive access fee." "Unseal it first," I replied calmly. "That won't happen until compliance." I asked them a simple question. "Who owns the bridge?" They smirked. "The community use it," the woman said. "It's been here forever." "Usage isn't ownership," I replied. They dismissed me and drove off, clearly satisfied. That afternoon, I drove home and opened a locked filing cabinet I hadn't touched in years. Inside were deeds, surveys, easements, and one very specific document, bridge title and maintenance rights, transferred to my grandfather and inherited by me. The bridge wasn't public. It wasn't HOA property. It was mine. The HOA had assumed access meant control. They never checked beyond their neighborhood boundary. By Monday morning, I made a call to a licensed inspector and another to my attorney. By Tuesday, I sent a certified letter to the HOA board, notifying them that any unauthorized restriction on my property access would result in immediate enforcement of my ownership rights. At 00 am on Thursday, a professional crew installed a temporary but legal access control barrier at the bridge entrance. Clear signage was placed on both sides. Private bridge, temporarily closed for structural inspection, authorized access only. By Shat, Ekbachem, my phone started ringing. Residents couldn't get to work. Delivery trucks were turned around. School buses stopped at the riverbank. By 00 am, the HOA president called me directly. "This is unacceptable," he snapped. "You can't block community access." "I'm not blocking it," I said calmly. "I'm exercising ownership during an inspection. Perfectly legal. You'll reopen it immediately." "I will, when my gate is unsealed and the violations withdrawn." He scoffed. "You're bluffing." At 9:10 am, Kandi officials arrived. Not for me, for the HOA. They reviewed my documents, compared them with Kandi records, and confirmed exactly what I said. The bridge belonged to me. The HOA president's confidence evaporated in real time. By noon, the gate seal at my cabin was gone. By 00 pm, every fine was void in writing. By 00 pm, I had a formal apology letter and a signed agreement acknowledging my land rights and permanent exemption from HOA authority. At 10:00 pm, I reopened the bridge. The next HOA meeting was packed. Residents were furious, not at me, but at a board that had never bothered to check ownership before throwing its weight around. Within a month, 3 board members resigned. As for my cabin, I repainted the gate anyway, not because they told me to, but because I wanted to. I added a small plaque near the entrance, visible only if you looked closely. Private property. Respect goes both ways. Sometimes power doesn't come from shouting or threats. Sometimes it's written quietly in ink, filed decades ago, and waiting patiently for someone to forget it exists.